I'm here with Aston Bridgman, who's Director, Head of Communications, Japan for Deutsche Securities. Welcome, Aston. You've been working in the Japanese market for 23 years, yes. So you've got a pretty good perspective on it, both from the Japanese point of view and, of course, from a Western point of view. Do you think sometimes observers from outside Japan try and look at the country or business from the point of view of a Westerner rather than thinking about, you know, what's best for Japan or Japanese businesses? I
think so. I mean, this is a common problem, I think, for any of us looking anywhere else around the world. But when it comes down to the kind of globalization that we're seeing of business, and that's accelerating, one point is the common understanding that we need to establish the common base on which we make judgments about success, progress, etc. So as Westerners, we tend to look with this very much with this Anglo-Saxon mindset, looking for value in certain types of behavior which don't necessarily conform with the host culture. So when we're looking here in Japan, very much there's a broader look at society and how corporate behavior and successes, etc., fit into that pattern, not just, say, strictly in terms of financial criteria. So yes, there are differences we have to be ready for.
Does that present a problem when Japan then, obviously Japan is a massive global economy, it's the third biggest economy in the world, but when it is now facing increased competition from China and from Korea, does that present a problem almost because the businesses are less, liable to go out and shout about what they do?
Yeah, it's interesting because, until now, very much I think Japanese companies have been focused in the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector. That's what we most notably know them for, and you can think of so many brands, and they've been very oriented selling into Western markets. In the last few years, I think, particularly since about 2007, 2009, we've seen a significant shift in Japan's balance of trade between focus on the West and now focus increasingly into Asia. So from a Japanese point of view, how should they be understanding Western demands on them when they now increasingly have a rising voice that influences them from China and other major Asian markets as well? So there's a lot of balance in there, and I don't know that necessarily that purely Western point of view is the right way to be looking at it to be a successful communicator. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help our companies, our organizations achieve their strategic objectives. So determining those has to be very much a balance of these competing values.
Sure. And finally, you've worked both in Japanese firms as well as Western firms operating in Japan. What were the major differences for you working as a communicator in those two situations? Yeah,
I think very much within Japanese firms it's much more oriented towards the sale of the product, very much more linked in with the performance of the frontline businesses, less linked maybe to the longer term corporate strategy. Western firms, I think, communications is placed much closer now to the C-suite, and I know that's quite a big issue at the moment. How much value that delivers, it's really based around the expertise and the experience of the communications person, and I think that's really where we notably make a difference. And that example of Western firms and how we communicate here in Japan, I think, is becoming an increasing kind of benchmark and a lesson in practice that hopefully our Japanese peers will learn from and pick up as well.
Okay, well, we look forward to tracking that development over the next few years. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much.